Hey gang, welcome to episode 13 of Fantasy Sports Alliance Periscope broadcast. This week we'll be bringing you Week 21's updates from around the NFL. As you can see, a little bit of a wardrobe change this week as we're going to talk about the NFL's Pro Bowl. I am wearing the AFC NFC shirt from 2013, the last time they played the Pro Bowl when it was the true AFC versus the NFC. So what we're going to really talk about is the glorified game of touch that the NFL is calling the Pro Bowl nowadays. I can't remember the last time I watched a Pro Bowl that was as light-hitting and less enthusiastic as I saw this past year. Final score of the game, 49-27 to Team Urban. It got me thinking, it is the worst all-star game in all of professional sports, I believe. They've tried a couple of times to make it better. It just isn't there yet. So it got me thinking about some things that we could do with our Pro Bowl for Fantasy Sports Alliance this upcoming season, and we'll get to that at the end of the show when we get to Fantasy Sports Alliance news. Don't forget, we did do the show a day later than normal, but that doesn't change the fact that Super Bowl 50 is still going to happen on Sunday, Levi Stadium in San Francisco. So make sure you catch that. Interesting fact before we get to the Super Bowl on Sunday, no quarterback has recorded a 100-plus passing rating against the Broncos this season. Cam Newton, the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, has 10 games of 100 or better passing rating. So that should be an interesting matchup. Some news from around the NFL, big news from some big players. Calvin Johnson, wide receiver from Detroit Lions, has decided that he's probably going to hang up the cleats and retire this year. Sad news, he's only 30 years old, kind of probably in his prime. Jerry Rice said that was when he was getting into his prime, was at 30 years old. Another Detroit Lion probably gone too soon. He's got 10 seasons under him. Barry Sanders had 10 under him before he left the Lions. Barry left as the number one rusher in Lions history, and Calvin Johnson does retire this year. He'll leave the Lions with number one wide receiver in Lions history. More news from the Johnny Manziel front. So apparently he got in trouble with the ex-girlfriend again. Looks like the Cleveland Browns are finally tired of the shenanigans after they said that they were going to bench him for the remainder of the season earlier in the season, and we saw him come back a week or two later. Looks like they're really ready to part ways with him now. Hugh Jackson said he wasn't even going to take the head coaching job there in Cleveland if Johnny Manziel was still in the picture. So March 9th, the new NFL season officially begins for 2016, and it looks like they're going to probably let him go at that time. Another big news coming out, it's a good thing that we delayed the show for a day. Colin Kaepernick is saying that he wants out of San Francisco now, and he would love to land with the New York Jets. Doesn't look like the feeling is mutual. The New York Jets have said they don't want Colin Kaepernick. Even more importantly, Brandon Marshall, the best wide receiver on the New York Jets, says he doesn't want Colin Kaepernick there either. He's good with Ryan Fitzpatrick. If you get to see the post-edit of the show, you'll see what I'm about to talk about right next. When you know marketing is done right, you will see a dabbing Cam Newton snowman on the side of the road. Like I said, if you get a chance to look at the post-production of the show, you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so we're going to get into the FSA Pro Bowl news. So we've mentioned a couple times the last 2 weeks that we're going to have a Pro Bowl at the end of the 2016 season. We've been working all week to try to figure out how we're going to accomplish that. So here's what we're looking at doing, the general rules for the 2016 Pro Bowl. The two teams that are going to play in that are going to be the two teams that go out in the semifinal round of our Pro Bowl. So it'll be very similar to what the NFL does when the two losing coaches from the AFC and NFC Championship go on to coach the Pro Bowl. We're going to do some of the same thing. So if you lose in the semifinal of the Fanatic Real Bowl in 2016, you will go to the Pro Bowl. What we're going to use that is for the true third and fourth place finish. So those two teams will face off against each other. What we're going to do is we're going to expand the roster so all 16 players are going to count for a score, but we're going to call it depth chart football, and here's what we're going to do. You're going to have your normal 8-person starting lineup that we're going to use all next year for 2016, which will give you 100%. Then you're going to have a 5-person second string that is going to get you 50%, and then a 3-player third string that's going to get you 25%. And here's the interesting things that are going to go along with that. kind of mixture of the old and new Pro Bowl for the NFL. The older days of the NFL, the Pro Bowl came after the Super Bowl. A lot of times the players from the two teams that went to the Super Bowl would show up at the Pro Bowl. Sometimes they wouldn't. Nowadays, they end up playing the Pro Bowl prior to the Super Bowl, so those going to the Super Bowl could not participate in the Pro Bowl. So we're going to kind of combine those things. So what happens is the players that are on the rosters, the starting lineups for the two teams that are in our Fanatically Real Bowl will not be allowed to participate in the Pro Bowl. And the reason I say that is, well, why are we even talking about that? Why wouldn't we use our players that we've played with all year? There's going to be a redraft. The redraft is going to consist of the third and the fourth teams, or the two teams that went out in the semifinals, to redraft a Pro Bowl-like team, all-stars from around the NFL. But the players you won't be allowed to choose will be the ones that played in the Fanatically Real Bowl from the week before, kind of comboing the old NFL philosophy behind that. What you are going to do is you're going to draft from the entire remaining pool of NFL players. Here's the catch, though. Once you draft a player from one of the NFL teams, no other players can be taken from that team, and that includes for both the team that drafted the player from that team and the opposing player. So that means, for instance, if somebody decides that they're going to draft, say, Brandon Marshall, then that takes players like Ryan Fitzpatrick and Chris Ivory off the table, can't be drafted. No other player can be taken from that team. There's going to be 16 players on one team and 16 on the other. Add those together, you get 32 teams, 32 players. There's 32 teams in the NFL. So each NFL team will have one representative in our FSA Pro Bowl. Like I said before, you cannot draft any players that went to Fanatically Real Bowl the week before, but you will be able to draft anybody else from that. We've already beta tested it a couple times this week. It's turned out to be really, really fun. In fact, still a lot of players that are out there because you have all-star type teams. You'll be able to find other players inside the chart. What it allows you to do is really use a lot of philosophy as you're drafting. We will be doing a snake draft when we're doing this, so the first person to pick will get pick 1, and then the second person to pick will get 2 and 3, and then we'll go back to the number 1 person to pick 4. So it'll snake just like a normal draft would, except for with only 2 players. Get a chance to play a little bit of mess around with your buddy whenever you do that. So you sit there waiting to see who your friend is going to take before you get a chance to go, and 2 of the teams are going to be eliminated before it gets back to you. So like I said, we've beta tested it a couple times, been really fun so far, and we still end up with really good all-star teams. After you get done drafting, then you're going to have to place those players into the 100%, 50%, 25% starting lineup that we're going to have posted for you. So it should be very, very interesting. It's really all the time we got for this week.